We're rolling.
Yeah.
What's good, everyone? Finally got round to the video as to why I left SRO, which actually happened in January of this year. Something I've been sort of putting off for a while, mainly just to sort my own life out and obviously move forward with things. I was half tempted to deep it, make a video, but at the same time I don't want this video to come across as if I'm dogging out Elite or Will, because as I said, he's one of my best mates. We've done a lot together, been through a lot of shit, seen a lot of the world together actually, had some sick times, so I don't want this to be like just pissing on the brands, because that's not what I'm about. However, I'm in a better headspace now to obviously talk about it, and it saves me basically writing essays to you guys when you ask, why not SRO, or what's the citrus supremacy, etc, etc. So yeah, I got a brew on the go. We'll talk through some topics. I'm backed with Binks as well behind the cam. I'm not going to talk figures too much, especially where it could get deep, because like I said, it could come across bad. But yeah, I'm gonna give you the insight as to the shit I was dealing with and going through, and why I decided to quit in January.
So when did SRO become SRO, essentially?
It was end of 2015. It was around the time that I had closed Supreme Scooters in town. I was working from home online, but not necessarily enjoying it, because working from home I don't really fuck with anyway. And also the time that I was preparing Supremacy. So yeah, Will had Elite and Revolution already. I had Supremacy sort of on the come up, and yeah, we just joined forces in December time, Innovation Centre in Market Harbour.
Yeah, everything seemed pretty good at that point. It seemed like it was going really well.
Yeah.
Especially for a new business, it seemed like movements were being made pretty quickly.
Yeah, because it was just fresh, man. It was one of them where it's every scooter kid's dream to have like a brand, and obviously when you're clashing heads with someone else that seems equally as passionate, shit's happening. You know what I mean? You're getting stuff done. Sure. So like, it was insane. It was something we had dreamt of, and we got the ball rolling with Supremacy dead quick, because obviously I had my contacts from retail side and sponsorship, and then Will had his contacts from like manufacturing and distribution. So like within months, I think actually start of 2016 we were worldwide already, just through the distros that we had. And because he was sat opposite me, we could literally clash heads every day and ping off sick ideas, and he was all about scooters, I was all about scooters, there was no other distractions, and yeah, it went 0 to 100 in the good way, and it was like that easily for about probably like 20 months to 2 years, I'd say. It was sick then.
Yeah, it seemed that like everything was going really sweet for like quite some time, and then weird little things started happening, like different products or different logos, etc., started looking like other things, and originality wasn't flowing as much as it was at the beginning.
Yeah, good point, because basically we had a company called Triple Vision reach out to us in like sort of the early stages, and basically it was the SRO logo, and the SRO was an imitated version of that logo, and they basically said like, the logo should change, and it's sort of like just he brushed it off, and after that people that skate or ride would know that it also like a Palace logo. So yeah, there was a lot of influence from that, and like I said at that stage, because I didn't really have a say in that, and SRO was his ultimately, I was just buzzing to be working and obviously earning from an industry that I do care so much about. But yeah, it's things like that which obviously led on to other things, with the Elite logo being the Call of Duty logo, the Kermit the Frog Supreme sort of rip-off, which again went viral. And you know, when you're crossing paths with like massive industries like skateboarding with something that's so niche and sensitive like scooters, you are going to get a mixed range of feedback, and most of it's probably going to be quite negative. So yeah, that was a bit of an alarm at that stage.
Yeah, it seemed as well that like distribution was going relatively well. Like you had people all over the world shipping the parts out, as you said. Obviously some stuff happened in America with Forefront.
Yeah.
What was the crack with that? Like what really went down there?
So Forefront were the boys, obviously Jordan Yasser and guys like them, who were also riders. It was sick. They were fresh to it, we were fresh to it, sort of bounced off each other. I think they went through some of their own troubles, sadly, which caused us to go with Turnstar, a huge distribution company, which sadly went bust as well. Again, that sort of tarnished us down the line. But we had Freestyle in Australia, who I don't think Will ever had that great of a relation with. And again, this was more Will's job role, was dealing with them, and obviously finances, stuff like that. So I was always a little bit on the fence for stuff like that, or they would come to me when he wouldn't reply, and this was another thing that started to progress into something really bad was just being so incompetent when it comes to emails, DMs, team riders, which we will get to. But yeah, distribution at the time was sound with Centrano as well, big up them. I always do like a sick job. And our parts were worldwide. So again, like I said, 2016 was a banging year. 2017 was pretty sick, up until the next thing we'll probably talk about. And yeah, it's we had all the right contacts. We had everything basically in place at the Brawler brands. It was just a case of capitalising, which sadly
Flavian was designing this stuff as well.
So a little French lad, Flavian, maybe 15, 16 at the time, he was balancing basically SolidWorks and CAD in between school, college, and this was another thing that I was doing. We had contracts drawn up, and I mean, you can't really be that loose with the contract, but everything seemed relatively fair for like both ends. Will would obviously let me know the situation, I'd write up the contract, and we'd get him to sign it, etc. However, Will struggled to sort of either, whether it was a case of remembering what the contract was about, but he never followed it to a T. And obviously in business, you've got to be fair, especially when it's a young lad that's dead passionate and buzzing to be making parts. Like, you know, if he made a certain product, he would accept like a certain amount plus commission, but it was quite often he was chasing me because Will hadn't replied because he was owed money or parts. And
yeah, I think people definitely saw you as like quite a big face of a lot of those brands, to be quite honest, and they would come to you for the answers to maybe things like where are payments, or like I just can't get in touch with someone.
Yeah,
you seem to deal with the brunt of those sort of issues a lot of the time when you had supremacy to try and worry about at the same time.
Yeah,
it was the same sort of time that your Instagram and any form of social media you had really was going pretty well.
Yeah,
like you were up there, 30,000 followers, constant posts.
Yeah,
and it seems to be going pretty well. And then small little things happened, or small little business ventures came about that were in the complete opposite direction to anything to do with scooters.
Yeah, straight up. So yeah, and to basically sort of create a vision for everyone that's listening is in spring 2016 we'd hit 30k. We're now in 2020 summer, so like 4 years on at 31k, sort of like, and this is supremacy obviously. I know Elite's decreased and the number game's an absolute fucking myth, and I would advise anyone to not get into it. Obviously when it's business you have to, because it's all about growth and numbers, and but like personal stuff it can be a bit of a nightmare. And when you're as progressive and competitive as I am, which you're well aware, is when you're growing that quick, the idea is to maintain it. And we knew what was going to engage well and what was doing well, which was making parts for the community, and obviously providing quality components and feedback and innovating. And yeah, that again just took a massive stunt as time progressed. But like, that's just one of the many things where it started to go south, because when you're trying to run a brand through Will off your own back, as well as TM, Elite riders, Revo riders, dealing with obviously customers, whether it's from the factory or whether it's from distributors, it can be pretty overwhelming when you're also trying to live a normal life.
Yeah.
And, you know, like group chats for me, as again you're aware, like I hate them. I've never really liked them. It's just more notifications to fuel the fucking fire. But like, that became a bit of a nightmare because it just got awkward. Like when you're sat within how we are 3-4 foot of the other person and you're watching their phone ring and it just get aired, it's like they then come to you like, oh, can you get Will's attention? And you'll be like, oh, come on mate, like this is one of your boys, like he's doing his bit, just do your bit, because if you're a manager people are going to come to you like, and you've agreed on this and that, and this is why we're doing it as an audio version also, because I didn't want to get nitty gritty with screenshots and visual proof, and I can, but again, I don't want to dog him out like that, because Will is like, we're good mates and still talk. But long story short, when we're jumping ahead a bit, riders like Dylan Morrison and Badger are like good, very good riders, you know, like best in the world, and they go to jams or comps, they're going to get podium, or they're going to get some incentive. Like there was contracts there with people like Dylan where Will would pay, I don't know, 50% of the prize money, or like you get this and that and the signature products, and it just never happened. And I'm dealing with obviously the backlash, and luckily for me, because I'm a rider that's active and turn up at events, I do get on with these guys personally and through social media, so like it was a little less stress, but you feel like you just clean up the shit all the time. Jay Taylor was obviously chasing payments lots with royalties and stuff that he was owed. all the pro riders, I said from day one, if we're going to write out this contract, just put them on a direct debit, yeah? The money will come out at the end of every month. You don't have to worry about it, and if they're doing their job and you're doing your job, it's like nothing off your back, you know? Like, that's just how a business... And it never happened. Like, and that sucked, because I remember doing like an illustration when we started to get into them, and it was him doing like a judo plan on paperwork. It was supposed to be business orientated, but like Jay Taylor basically commented saying how like that's him on all his unread messages and DMs, and like he just let it get on top of him basically. Like the sort of guy that had 99 plus requests and never filtered through it, sort of wanted to pass it on. And when you're the guy that's cleaning up that whilst trying to deal with your own team, whilst trying to deal with your own like innovative ideas and etc., like that stuff can really start to take its toll on you. So these are again alarms where, as we'll get onto, started to really sort of like show and deteriorate over time.
Yeah, I think things like inflatable bags you can lie on at a festival, or toys that you can hold and try and distract yourself with, distracted Will from scooters, because they're not remotely involved. And when you get into that sort of thing that's very like during the time and will only last a certain amount of time, they're fads, and
they're just fads,
crazes, and that it's not a long-term thing.
Little trends that unless you were the one that come up with, you will always just be another copy and paste brand and struggle with. And so we mentioned this before, we're going to basically just brush over. So Will's sort of background is, like wealthy background, parents are lovely, dead sound. They had him on a Peter Jones course, like a college course, specialist course with short amount of pupils, so they could be a lot more to the point with them basically. And fair play to him, like he grafted, he'd done his bit, and I think at the end they were given like a $5,000 grant maybe, which is sick. And his head and heart was in scooters, which is why it's so refreshing obviously back then. But with the like entrepreneurship sort of ways, he did obviously wander off sometimes into sky bags and cosmic cubes and these weird fads which were low key, just not great. It was cool obviously, and it was exciting at the time, because again, we're all, especially I'm always about progressing and learning and just getting involved and trying to market these things, which are inflatable bags. Like, in the summer they were popping, but again, like that bag was another copy and paste from like a lazy boy or lazy bag company who started to actually sue companies that were producing them, because it was the exact same shape, material and idea once they put a patent on it, just with different labels. So like, next thing you know, we got hundreds of them that we're trying to shut off on eBay before he got sued. And like cosmic cubes, he released them 3 months after fidget spinners. Obviously they're just whack anyway, but like fidget spinners were clearly the popular thing that everyone was selling and every kid was just spinning off their forehead. But like he then had these things which just add to that itchiness of just wanting to fidget. Like they just made no sense, and that was like probably $7,500 gone into that, just sat there, and they just became a burden, which eventually again we tried shotting off through Amazon, which we can come to at some point, another little side alley we took to try and shift dead stock essentially. But yeah, these little fads, it's cool and exciting when you're younger, but as a businessman or business partner, you obviously we have a business in scooters. That is the bread and butter. That is what we're into. That is where our heart is, or at least mine was. That's what we want to feed into.
It seemed that like things were going, although there was those little mini things happening, things were going pretty like reasonably well, and then the GTR happened.
Fuck it, yeah. So yeah, the GTR is like a novel in itself. He was looking at them in maybe like end of summer, sort of 2016 time, not long after Tanner ironically got a GTR, like a scooter rider that had made it. I don't even know if them two match, and I'm not even going to deep on that level, but anyway, he obviously GTR sick car regardless, and yeah, he was talking about it, and I'm all for people that go full send, because obviously we've spent enough time around people that talk and never go ahead with stuff. But yeah, I go to work one Monday morning, just pulls up in a GTR, $45,000, like wrapped by Yanamai, sick, like it's obviously a GTR, like it is a whip. And I was buzzing because he was happy, and it's a bit like, holy shit, like we're doing bits, and if this is from scooters, then that's sick, but hang on, like $45,000, you obviously start to fucking ask questions. And yeah, with the $45,000, which doesn't just appear or get given to you, it was a business loan. Obviously a GTR's got nothing to do with a scooter business. It was solely for personal use, and enjoyment, which is fine, get plenty of enjoyment, and don't get me wrong, when you're in the car, you're not complaining, like it is sick, it's rapid, and we'd be going Sanos to get £3 meal deals and in a GTR where people think we're pro footballers, and yet we're not, we're just scooter riders trying to make ends meet. And this car brought a hell of a lot of attention, and I guess you could say when you own a whip like that, it does bring a bit of ego, because let's face it, it's a GTR, you're not going to walk out of it in like a Sports Direct tracksuit, are you, on some dead creps. Like you have to sort of maintain that. So I'd say from that point, that was definitely a bit of an alarm, because he was spending stupid amounts on just everything, like watches, just outfits, flashy stuff to sort of feed the social media, the gram, the hype, and obviously the ego, I guess, which sort of sucks in a way, because again, like it's got nothing to do with where you spend your money, if it's your money, but it wasn't. It was business loans, and it led to the domino or snowball effect of let's get another loan to pay off that loan. And
I think to outside as well, it looked like you see someone driving a car like that with expensive watches, expensive shoes, etc. You think, well, fucking hell, those brands must be doing really fucking well, and you almost get trapped in that bubble of like, well, everything must be completely fine then, because fucking you got an expensive car, you can afford expensive things. Those brands are obviously doing incredibly well. And this was around the time you were looking at warehouses, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of around that period.
So that, and again, that's the power of social media. Like sadly, a lot of people just believe what they see, regardless of the actual context. Like, oh, it's a sick car, good looking geese, like, fuck, he's killing it. But it's like, well, it's still a scooter industry where it's very new still, and it is quite difficult to sort of make your way. But no one obviously goes on that level. They just see it, and the Instagram feed goes from scooters and Insta vids to blue, and whatever colour his watch and trainers are. And like, it's this was happening around the time that we wanted to move out of the innovation centre, because essentially we just outgrown it. Like, we had LG Pro distributors in the first 18 months, and Joel, big up to Joel, still talk to him, and he's still grinding, doing his thing, and we just wanted control of the stock, because when you're making stuff, you want to see it, you want to make sure it's good to go. And and we managed to get the warehouse in 2017, again around November time. Huge move, we were buzzing. The video, which is somewhere on my Instagram, will show that we're honestly fucking hyped. Again, we're like little kids. And with the warehouse, obviously comes a lot of overheads. 4,500 square foot, 2 units, big office space, like everything we thought we needed. We even had Harvey at this point. I forgot to mention. Big up Harvey. So we had an apprentice come in, Harvey, who most of you all know, absolute legend, just like a little brother, and still is actually to this day. So 3 of us move into a warehouse in November. We get all the stock, we feel like life's going good again, but at this stage it's like we need to earn X amount to live, because we now have to pay a lot for overheads, electricity, gas, etc.
So when you then eventually did move into the warehouse, which was like a massive thing, it was sick, how did it go from there? Because I remember turning up one day and there being fucking tyre marks on the inside of the floor and being like, what the fuck has happened?
So again, a guy with a lot of borrowed money and a big open space, and don't get me wrong, again, I don't want to dog him out because it was fun as fuck. He had a Yamaha 450 Raptor quad, he had a CRF 450 crosser, like a GTR, a lot of nice shit, and you have 4,500 square foot of smooth polished floor. Obviously, we had a little bit of ADHD moments in that warehouse, to say the least, and he fired it up, started doing donuts, and so before stock arrived, it was definitely a bit of a play area. And eventually stock did arrive, and the idea was, at least it was for me, is you get in the warehouse, you get your rack in, preferably get a forklift, and one of us get a forklift license, because we wanted to go 3 high and fill the space and utilise it as well. And instead it started to get filled with random stuff and stock on the floor, but whatever, we're buzzing because we're starting with
playhouse than
straight up, and we finally had control of stock, which was sick, but sadly no racking or none of the stuff you would normally see in a warehouse. But it was one of them. It took a while to eventually start to fill the space, and I don't think it was ever entirely full because we never got racking, but it started off empty, a bit of a play area, and then eventually had stock, and then we all moved into the office and basically carried on as normal.
It seemed like it was sick at the time. It was obviously all in good fun, and I think you have to like have the fun, because you get to these points and you have to enjoy them, but it seemed like the fun was almost like, well, for starters, causing a little bit of actual like damage to the floor, but like the plans what were initially when you moved into the warehouse were not the plans as to what was the warehouse.
Yeah.
Like it quickly became something very distant from what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember having as well a dog, like the most adorable dog.
Oh my god, yeah. So this is, this is hard to talk about. We still talk to this day, and he's, like I said, we've been through so much together and done a lot of sick stuff together. And low key, it's almost like a relationship. Like, yeah, he's a good guy and we've done bits, but like, I don't know, or maybe they just 0 to 100, like they love it, and then a few, like they're over it. And yeah, he found these breeders for like giant Alaskan Malamutes, and it was me that named the dog. I come up with Luna, because Luna's just a beaut name, she suited it. Again, we're buzzing, there's a dog that's in the warehouse, obviously we're going to be buzzing, like, fucking love dogs and that. And the worst thing about this, and this is why it's hard to talk about, is because he never really done research, and it's a living thing, it's an animal, and if you have a dog, like, you're with it for the next decade or so.
Yeah.
Every dog, like humans, are different, with different characteristics. This dog was going to grow into a weapon. Like, she had massive parents, she was beaut, and she was just a bit out of control, and he didn't have the time or patience, or I don't know what it was, but he sort of just stuck it on his parents to look after maybe, and was never really toilet trained or anything, so she would just run havoc around the warehouse and piss and shit up everything like most puppies. And instead of taking the time, it was like, oh fuck, this is too much. And I even remember him saying about like, oh, the owners never said that she was going to be like that. And it's like, oh bro, come on, like that is solely down to you to do your research, man. And obviously it's like, you can bring a kid up to be a good kid, or you can bring a kid up to be a bad kid, because they're going to obviously take, even though it's different with a dog. And yeah, that was just another example. And like, even his giant rabbit, and if he sees something, he gets gassed off, like 0 to 100, he'll just go search it and see if he can buy it. And like, I think now he even owns a squirrel. That's what I mean, like on that. And like, again,
I didn't think you could own a squirrel.
Yeah, bro, it's pretty mad, and I'm sure he's looked after it for now. I just hope he don't get bored of it, man, and fucking let it run ragged or something. But anyway, yeah, Luna, bless her, she was there for what, a month? Then she went back to the owners, and low key, this again sounds horrible, but like, I was actually happy about that, because I knew that the dog was going to be blessed, and obviously probably in hands that could spend the time to bring her up properly and stuff. So yeah, these are just some of the things that he would buy, you know, like he would spend 450 quid on bright yellow Yeezys on eBay whilst I'm editing a video.
All of these things which just took away from scooters.
Essentially scooters, yeah.
At this point as well, obviously you're still grafting. You know the friendly boys quite well. You managed to get them in the UK, like you managed to get the friendly grip, which was you were the only people in the UK to be able to get it. Yeah. It's a pretty close relationship.
Yeah, and to this day it remains the same. So, and again, I didn't do any of this shit for fucking praise or a pat on the back. We've had this convo before. It's solely to give back to community, right? And obviously friendly, we've known since day one, and I've known them pretty well personally. So that was a goal, was to always get another brand on board that I can help push, and done so. And I was buzzing, and I feel like, again, like not blowing my own trumpet, but done a dead good job, because I enjoy marketing, how friendly market. Like I love their style of their art, their riders, their just the demographic they reach out to, and so that come about. That was super exciting. And again, stuff like this is what keeps me going. Like it's scooter related. Like I'm giving back to the community, and it's a sick product. Like I trust them guys, I trust the product, and I know that I can market that sort of stuff. So yeah, that came about, and we'd buy tons of that stuff. You buy in 600, it would come straight from the factory, and we would fly through it. Again, we made that go national over every store in the UK pretty much, and tons of kids were tagging us. And these are the projects and the little side hustle that I proper dug into whilst these other distractions were going on.
The little side hustle that was going the direction of scooters was Mayfair. Like Mayfair was a pretty solid like plan. Yeah. From what like was on paper, like it seemed like it would work really well, and that was just something that never came. Yeah, sadly. So the idea of Mayfair was basically we wanted a retail front in the first unit of the warehouse, so we actually could offer like physical footfall essentially. And that's actually a bit annoying to talk about, because me and Harvey just melted our eyes at just constantly just rebuilding a website, adding tons of inventory, like from A to Z. Imagine all the brands that exist, like, and we got all that set up, and I feel like the branding, or at least the image behind that, would have been sick, and we had the perfect space at the front to do so. And this is like
going all the way down to interior, colour schemes, pattern numbers, like all the shit you do to have a shop, which I was hoping to use my knowledge with obviously Supreme Scooters. And yeah, I think we got as much as setting up a website that never went live, and a bit of carpet, which just sat at the front of the warehouse, and that's about as far as it went before that never happened. And this topic's interesting because the false hope and promise is something that in this present moment I'm fucking sick of. Like the amount of false hope and promise that just sends yourself after a while. It honestly just makes you're just demoralised when you hear we're going to do this and that, or Team Rider's getting this and that, and you never sees the light of day, and that's something that used to really fucking take its toll on me, to be honest.
I think especially as well when like it's actually seemed like you were moving in that direction, things were going that way, and then it turns up and his car's gone, and next thing you know loads of money's being funneled into a car again, and the car completely changes. And
okay, Liberty Walk.
Yeah, and
okay,
Mayfair completely stopped, Mayfair went, and then
so sort of around this time was like we sort of jumped the gun a bit. So the first initial insight to Forex trading, which we will sort of brush over briefly, one, I'm not about it, and that's not me directing at anyone, because if you're doing it, fair play, like everyone can do what they want to do, but like his first sort of swindle, let's say, or con, was obviously giving away the Rocco for free. And you think, well, when you got like a 10, 11 grand car, what do you mean giving it away for free? And basically that was the start of the Forex trading. It turns out a lot of the money was going into Forex trading, and I'm not going to explain what it is, but I've done enough research to not ever want to be a part of it, or at least part of the team, which I was sort of offered. That was one of them things where it's a bit like a pyramid scheme. There's a hierarchy. You get the guy that runs it, and you get the good-looking geezers with nice stuff, whether it's actually owned or financed, and 9 times out of 10 it's probably financed. And they then just get a ton of innocent, I believe everything I see, and I'm going to earn my yearly salary in a month. It must be true. Sign up, they get thrown into group chat. Here's a load of Photoshop demographics of like fake stuff, essentially. This is something that's pretty deep, but I actually was turning people down that would come to me before going to Will. And like, again, I'm going to say everything how it is because I'm honest, but like I had a lot of mates, like even people that weren't scooter related, people that we're mates with, ask me if it's genuine, like I'm really interested, because everyone needs to earn P and everyone's struggling, like life's hard and that, but I would actually have to just DM and say don't do it, because I knew the situation, I knew how it operated, and like it's probably not all like that, but I know for a while most people tuned in.
When the image that's being put out there is like such a big image of expensive cars and whatnot, that people are naturally going to have an interest in it, because that is what people want.
Everyone wants the luxury
stuff.
And that's just not the reality, man. And that was difficult, because again, you just fucking let me focus on scooters, man. Let me make an impact here, because that is what I care about. Not let's fucking throw him in a group chat and watch him struggle and try bet his way through life, and just because it's fucking, there's no control over that. It's just all guessing game, and so that definitely probably prevented a lot of things like Mayfair from actually going forward, and obviously a lot of our production. So
I think having the GTR as well, like it did bring about some pretty sick memories, I guess. Geneva, you went to a trip to Geneva, which sounded fucking crazy.
And this is right. Will would agree to this, man. We had the fucking best time in Geneva. Like I will not forget that weekend. And a lot of money was spent, whether it was borrowed or not. It was wild. And so this was not long after Liberty Walk here, and I said I won't talk much figures of like stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure I was never told the actual figures. But Liberty Walk it's expensive, man. And this is like the first Type 2 in Europe. It's a big thing. I don't know how much was taken out of the business, because again, this was out of my control, but it's 5 digits, and I'm pretty sure it'd be over 20k for everything. And when I mentioned about having nice things, it was snowing the day we picked it up. I was driving the Rocco, he was coming back in the GTR, skirted around the industrial estate that we worked on at Well and Valley, and fucking curved it. And this is at this point, this is like 60, 70 grand looking car maybe. Curved it, mate, completely chunked it. I was like, holy shit. And luckily when it actually went to Geneva, because it's bagged, it's on air ride, he just completely dropped it, and we had the actual damage bit covered. So no one actually knew that, and it got a lot of attention, and it was a fucking beaut looking whip. Geneva was wild. I can't even talk about Geneva because some questionable shit happened there. Nothing business related. It was solely just let your hair down. Let's just enjoy life because we're young. And what a memorable weekend, man.
But yeah, that was about the beginning of the year. It was towards the middle of the year that you got that massive shipment, which like seemed to be going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But then because things hadn't been done in the future, you had no way of managing all of that stock.
Yeah. So we basically had maybe like a 2 or 4 ton lorry turn up. This is where we needed racking. Instead of going 3 high, we went like 6 high with boxes. That's how we were measuring shit. And no forklift, so we had to annoy the guys at the gin company to help us, and we had to, me and Harvey, physically offloading a lot of stuff because that's essentially our job roles as well. Don't get me wrong, these days are sick because you're seeing the physical stock, but at this stage it was actually like the profile bars or prism, the ones that didn't sell as well. So like instead of having that amount of Trojan bars, which sold rapid and they were the dead solid V1s, it was holy shit, I think we're about to take I don't know how many £1,000 worth of dead stock off this lorry. Anyway, it filled up the warehouse pretty well, so it looked a bit more legit. But again, this is what I mean about choice and money, and if you're gonna do it properly and actually put some thought into it, because we could be actually getting the money we need to pay for your luxuries, which you still are paying loan companies for. Not let's just piss a load of money at the wall because it's an elite product, etc., etc.
Yeah. I think as well, then things like taking on other people, employing other people that weren't essential is more money out of the business that like wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Having people there that aren't helping.
So my
taken away from the experience.
Opinion on this is obviously solely my opinion, and I just feel like the way Will was headed with his passion, which was definitely not in scooters by this stage, was very much into cars and clothes and luxuries. Me and Harvey just have a proper sick bond. Like I said, he's like a little brother because we spend pretty much all shift, 5 days a week in the warehouse, either picking, packing, and he was doing an apprenticeship for marketing, so a lot of the time he was shadowing me. He was spending less time with us, more time in the office, whatever he was doing. Like, I'm not even sure at this stage. And he then took on a lad called Ollie, which was fair enough. I wished he had probably spoke to us properly about it, or at least gave us an idea as to what his input was going to be. And I don't want to cuss anyone down, but we all sort of, between 3 of us, sort of had it covered, at least. He was in charge of finances and that sort of stuff. I was sort of doing anything and everything to keep everything afloat. Harvey was doing his apprenticeship whilst picking and packing, and I just feel like he almost got him on board to maybe just have someone else that he could chill with, because again, he's from a wealthy background.
With the scooters and was more with the cars and
it's just another distraction essentially. And I don't want to be a dick because he'll listen and that's fine, but I just don't know what he was offering to SRO entirely, because we had it all covered. And like, when your background isn't in scooters and you're left to deal with riders as big as Dylan and Paul Roman and Jake B, it's a bit like, not only you build relations, but these guys, if they talk to you about scooters, you're only going to have to come to us anyway. So like, just let us deal with that. Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one. And like you said, your outgoings just fucking gone up again, because you're paying a 24, 25-year-old at the time and the minimum wage or salary, but for what? Like, we got enough shit to pay for, man, and enough shit to do to actually survive. So that was a bit of a weird move.
Clothing brands, etc.
Yeah, and basically that is what it is about when you're giving back to a community. It's no different to any other business. Or just to confirm, or at least put it out there, is when skate parks host events, or I say, and I don't know if I should say this, but at this stage, whatever, like, most people are aware anyway, they're probably going to lose money. However, you're hosting an event for one of the biggest competitive series, where that whole weekend there's probably going to be tons of social media. You got photographers, videographers, you got some of the best riders in the world all plugging your skate park. Down the line, it's going to bring you business, or at least it's going to put you out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me to host an event had nothing to do with money regardless. It was about bringing people together to have a sick time, because we all ride scooters, and obviously give away free stuff. Like, and a lot of the times we would say like, he was good for putting the card in the machine, and it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't done that. But everything behind the scenes, and again, I'm not doing it for praise or credit, was all my drive. It was my ideas, let's do this, let's do that, we can do it at this time, this day, and it was sort of like, yeah, sound. And don't get me wrong, if someone's easy going, that's fine, but you still have to be strategic in the way you go about it, or at least have an input, like more than just, I'll pay for it because that's going to keep you happy. And sometimes I felt like it was a bit like that, like keep me happy, which is all well and good, but I'm doing this for his benefit too, man. Like this is SRO is his. So I'm an employee for SRO, and we co-own Supremacy. So like, I want to do well regardless for my own well-being, like for my own mental health and for scooters. And how it started is we both had that mindset. So we're both doing bits and killing it, and everyone was buzzing. The parts were sick. So as time went on, you feel like he would show his face just to sort of be present. But he was more keen on the after sesh with his boys or going twisted elsewhere, and again, that's fine if he had told me directly, not sort of just carried it on and on. So
obviously you two, do you know what I mean? You'd started this business together, still friends, trying to be friendly. I mean, like, he did still care about you as a friend and as people. Look at the Christmas party, like your Christmas parties were wild.
Oh yes.
You, Harvey, Will.
We
backflipping off balconies almost, like it.
Oh, that was wild. Yeah, so right, the Waggers trips will always be golden. The Christmas parties will always be golden. The raves will always be up there. Like, this is what I mean, don't get me wrong, we had some of the best times and I would cherish them. But the reason this is like, you go off tangent with that because everyone likes to let their hair down. And don't get me wrong, we had some fucking wild weekends and just random spontaneous trips abroad or whatever. But strictly SRO talk was, you can only do that for so long before that Monday just gets deeper and darker, you know, like almost like a come down. Like the come down would just, instead of it just being Monday, it then became Monday, Tuesday, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next thing you know, it's Friday, and you're absolutely buzzing to leave. And I'd never had that in the first 2.5 years, because obviously I was living and breathing scooters. That is every kid's dream, and living off it. Like, but then to get to the point where you're like watching the clock, thinking, how long can I actually do this for? Like, how long can I keep replying to people on his behalf? How long can I keep trying to innovate, create without actually having the money to pay for production? How long can I keep telling his riders that they will get paid, but I don't know why he's not paying you, or, well, how come I haven't been paid? And this is, and that's when it started to get so dark and deep, because I literally had this, like, my mood would just fluctuate. I'd go in some days optimistic or with an idea, and then it got to the point where I didn't know if my idea was going to get rinsed on behalf of Elite behind closed doors, or I'd go in like, I was going to be sound, then get 3 of his riders, my deck's broken, I'm chasing payment, and it became then like a fucking horrible job, because you're talking to people you see when you go overseas or when you go to events that he won't go into anymore, and then dealing with that awkwardness because you feel like you're in that position where you could be. And all my ideas would just go through one ear out the other. And put your riders on direct debit and don't worry about that, because it will come out naturally. Put some of your passion and energy into scooters, because it will give back. Not £400 shoes and fucking 90 quid every time you fill up your tank every 3 days. And
for sure.
It got a bit unbearable, mate.
I think it sort of went that way when Will stopped riding personally, which was probably the beginning of 2019. As soon as you stopped riding properly, because you'd always go to Corbett's for after work, obviously it was not that far from the warehouse, Harbour in general. When that sort of stopped, and then you have a company that scooters and you stop riding, don't get me wrong, I get why the passion would die, but that's your company, you have to sort of keep that passion alive,
of course,
if it's going to be something that fills your life. And then Exclusive comes out of nowhere, like,
fucking hell, so again, regarding rider owns, the irony of that, which it's not even frustrating, it's just more of a joke, but like, he obviously was phasing out of riding naturally with the direction he was headed in and the people he was chilling with, and that's fine, but to plug rider owned and basically turn up to Corby once a year, like normally in January or whenever a new part arrived, so we can get obviously the photo and ride for an hour, and then sort of, that was a bit of an annoyance, because again, me and Harvey were riding as often as we can, even on our lunch breaks in the warehouse, and I got him a job coaching at Corby with me, so we were always riding, and then we'd invite him and keep inviting him, then eventually just stopped asking because it was sort of let down feeling. And you know, I get it, this is a Wild Room Geezer is a good lad. He was smashing gym, like, you know, just to put it out there. He would have a PT 5 days a week, you know, at 11 o'clock. So he would leave us in the warehouse at 11 till 12, and then some days he would have a fresh trim, or I'm gonna go meet a bird, and like, man, this is hard to bring this stuff out without sounding like a dick, but everyone works, right? Pretty much everyone works, and most people listen to this if you're not in school or college, or even if you are, you're still working, so you're putting in a graft. And I feel like he just took such a backseat to the point where he felt like he had the right people to do everything for him. He got super lazy with it, and it's a pretty big word to use, or it's not the word lazy, but it was doing so minimal.
Yeah, we stopped judging and stuff, didn't he, as well?
And when he judged, like, fuck, I don't want to sound like a dick, but yeah, he offered to go to Denmark, and that was a sick weekend, but even then it was my results that determined that comp. Like me, him and Thane. Thane's a good lad as well, but like, ISA, me, Terry and Lewis, I'm fucking like Simon Cowell, like, we don't say each other's scores, and it's live stream anyway, so like, that is your decision, that's why it's fair. Whereas it would be like, in my head, like, oh, it's 76, pretty solid that. He goes 77, Thane's 75, and you're going, oh, for fuck's sake, like, this, and yeah, things like that. It's just more of an insight as to like his knowledge on scooters, his knowledge on riders, video parts. It was just so distant at this stage because he was just so irrelevant, essentially. His Insta feed had gone blue, and fucking, yeah, it all got a bit weird, mate, and I think that's because he was setting up exclusive, which, for those wondering, who probably already know, it's just another raffle company. You could win a car for 40 quid, let's say. Or let's use the GTR as a good example, right? He wanted to get rid of the GTR because it was a fucking money burner, obviously, and it was getting a little bit damaged, or at least it had some wiring issues with the bags and stuff like that. And he went to get rid of that, and it was 44 quid. And the idea was, at least what he said to me and Harvey, was we get rid of this, we use the money to put back into scooters. Obviously, we're buzzing again. Here comes the false promise, the false hope. Like, oh, fuck yeah, if I just do a little bit of this work, it might actually be beneficial. Spent hours, just days, weeks, Photoshop, sorting shit out, trying to get used to the market with that demographic. I've never fought with it. You have to go through a lot of legislation because it's gambling, obviously. Like, it's a risk. And we made the promo, made the flyer, pretty gassed on it actually, and we launch it in I think 2019, maybe springtime. And yeah, within 48 hours, we get a finance company reach out to Will, Paragon, and the whole time this GTR, he never even owned, it had like $2,000 outstanding finance, and we were like, holy shit, what the fuck do you mean? Like, that sort of like, you just go up and you think, shit the bed, like, is this going to affect me personally, or at least with my wages? And
I think that's peak as well, because obviously Will wasn't even aware of that. It came out of the blue for everyone.
So that leads to the next issue, court case. So yeah, that's we're just like, holy shit, that's a court case situation here. This is how deep we're getting, that sort of thing. And I don't want to be a part of anything to do with that. I didn't want to be a part of exclusive in the sense that I'm still an employee for SRO, still want to do supremacy. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock to the system, and that from then onwards just took his whole focus away from scooters.
And at that time as well, obviously the Spartan drop was meant to come out, and then that got delayed, so your focus on that almost got taken away because obviously that got delayed for a while.
Of course, and that was already delayed regardless, because fucking the amount of shit that was being spent elsewhere on personal luxuries and trips and shit like that. So yeah, big concern. And the Spartan stuff I had huge faith in. Same with the decks, we had huge demand. And another annoying thing, or at least a little hatred towards the way that he wanted to market, was as soon as the samples were made, just plug the fuck out of them. But the idea normally is, no, you get them, you test them, or maybe if you want to tease, you can. But until you actually get a confirmed release date or shipping date, you then give yourself, let's say, 2 weeks, and you can work with your distros to plug it, get pre-orders in, and then, you know, the fucking boat's sailing and you sorted. It wasn't. We got it, we're made to plug it. I'm there trying to market supremacy way. He's there sort of imitating the elite way, which 9 times out of 10 is me doing. Also very annoying because you got one direction, then this direct, and yeah, that was another common problem. And yeah, I think we had 12 decks made. I think we're supposed to get 6 of each. Instead I got 4 supremacy decks, the rest were elite, and 3 of them came with elite dropouts. You know, like, it's fucking things like that, man. And it's horrible because at that stage I was already bummed out, and fucking I was just at the skate park trying to take photos of both and thinking, how the fuck am I going to put this out there? Or why am I going to put this out there? Because it's only going to lead to a ton of DMs and unanswered shit, and I'm going to have to deal with all of them.
Yeah, straight away. The problem was that instantly was the when's the deck coming out?
Yeah.
I didn't know when the deck was coming out.
And that's why you don't market like that. But if you're getting paid to do so, you feel like
you can't even reply to those comments and those messages because there is no realistic time frame at this point.
Yeah.
Because especially as obviously the samples turned up wrong, that needed to be sorted out first before anything. I think that was probably the biggest thing, was the demand, because the decks are fucking sick, and when they're right they're going to be sick, but the demand was there for them and couldn't supply.
You piss off the market because obviously you build hype, you start getting demand, and then you can't give to that, so they're obviously going to go buy something else. You're just in a shit position when you're there copying and pasting, which is what it comes to, templates of why you're sorry for Elite, for Supremacy Forever, which he sold because he was struggling to maintain, and he sort of felt like it was dying out, and Harvey didn't want the responsibility, and he'd already learned how to run social media pages. So all these little things, they just fucking add up, man.
Yeah, so obviously with everything that was going on, business sort of going in the direction you wanted, but not actually having the things like the parts to sell, etc. That's when you decided that you were going to have a bit of a break from it all.
Yeah, so, and this is probably the final major part. Just to get some facts out there, we actually went dry of product for about 16 months, maybe, so like that's a long time to not give back to the market. Will got in a lot of financial troubles with loan companies, finance companies, with Paragon court cases, Centrano. He just had a lot going on. So basically, we then took on the same position as his riders. We just stopped getting paid, or at least getting paid on time. And, you know, for someone that is a CEO or a manager or a businessman, when you're sending Snapchats to actually get replies on payment, you feel like this isn't right. Like, imagine doing that in a normal job. Like, you wouldn't do it. And I say Snapchat because you know when they've opened it, that's what sort of level. So me, Harvey, I don't know whether Ollie was getting paid or whatever he was doing, I don't think he was, but it got to that level. And to be honest, I was just fucking sick of it, because I'm at this stage, 26, like I'm ready to just sort of do adulthood, or at least do it properly, man. I'm bored of winging my way through stuff, and I got shit to pay for. And I just took a bit of, it was after like Ibiza, just weird holiday as well. Sort of took a step back, started helping my brother and his mate's business building. Then I was painting and decorating again, which I actually done before, anything to do with scooters, so like 15, 16, 17 years of age. Stuff that's not exactly, it's not glamorous by any means, but at least I knew I was earning cash.
And then on the weekend, obviously you had said you were doing 50-50.
Yeah, and that was really good. Like, so he was going through some tough shit as well, said, and it was just an excuse to link up, chat shit, like we do now. We drink beers, drink tea, give back to scooters, which is something I felt like I'd missed for so long. Instead of giving them false promise, like I was being fed.
And something new as well.
I was giving them something new. And it was just a nice little platform. We really enjoyed that, man. That was a breath of fresh air. And like I said, we would be doing this right now if COVID wasn't a thing. But yeah, big up 50-50 for keeping our head clear for a few months.
Yeah. And so, obviously, towards the tail end of last year, you went off to Australia as well. Yeah. Which was quite a nice breather for you as well, I imagine.
Massively. I think, mental health wise, easily, tail end of last year, start of this year has been an absolute battle, but it was big up Dean massively, actually, from Flavour. He basically gave me the opportunity to fly out, paid half of the price for flights, gave me a whole month's worth of work at the warehouse. Big up Nathan Flamengo, Dylan, Jay, all the boys basically, because they put me up for a month of just going from a horrible British winter of feeling a little bit unemployed / earning peanuts and breaking my back, and then going to Australia where I was working back with scooters, realised scooters is still amazing, the community's still sick, the Australian scene's wild, the weather's paying. I got all the right vibes, and I was like, fuck, I can come back and hopefully start fresh. Came back, had Christmas with obviously you guys, the family, friends. New Year's, bit of a blowout. January the 1st, like, let's just be optimistic, not New Year, New Me, none of that shit, but let's see what happens. Yeah. Went back to SRO, and warehouse was gone, terminated lease, couldn't afford that anymore. Gin company took over again. Back in the innovation centre, so instead of getting a step forward, we took a step back, no more stock, that had all gone. Centrano pulled the plug with Elite, and essentially lost all distro, lost a lot of respect with factories, quality control went out the window. people were starting to fall out, and my name was just always sort, like a CC. Do you know what I mean? That sort of guy, and I had no fucking reason to be. And I'm glad and big up to everyone that's obviously aware and knows the situation, or at least knows the work ethic I have. Super progressive, determined, and I will put in a graft and a shift regardless. But I just felt personally my brands were getting tarnished because of him and the shit he was dealing with, and that's even down to like the main factory in China. So yeah, I went back, didn't I? Did my first week finished, didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And that was it. It fucking threw me over the edge. Shit could have been a lot different if I'd made it, obviously, in January time or February time, because obviously my feelings towards that and Will was a lot more hatred and annoyance than anything else. But yeah, I'm not about it. I hope he's well, and like I said, we still speak. I hope everyone that's been patient, like I can provide and give back to you guys. I'm sure I will. And just as a little summary, I'm back on my feet again, buzzing on life. I'm actually working at Transport HQ full time, so I'm super busy learning the ins and outs of that, digital marketing, doing everything I'd always dreamt of. So I'm really fortunate to be in a position like that, and actually put some of the knowledge I was self-teaching essentially into this industry, which is booming. And scooters, like I said, I spend all evenings actively running Insta, the Facebook, replying to you guys, still riding, and business stuff. Basically, weekends I'm pretty much prioritising supremacy. So it's good to know that I've got full control over the brand. So everything now is from me and from me personally. And obviously we got Centrano backing it and rolling. And like I said, we plan to go into America as well. So yeah, big plans, and big up everyone.
Yeah, I think next year things are going to change quite quickly. Obviously with you putting in time in your current job on the weekends, things are going to be slow, but things are going to be done the right way. Things are going to go back to grassroots and all be done for the love of riding a scooter, which is sick. And obviously we wish everyone the best with everything. Like there's no disrespect meant. Sometimes it's just right to do things now so people can go their own directions and you can go and do your thing, and Will can go and do his thing, and there's no bad blood, and at the end of the day everyone started out doing something we love, whether it finishes that way or not is unintentional, but
of course, and I think that's it, that's that path that you can go down. This is my direction, this has always been my direction, and basically I'm a man of my words. I like to think if I say shit it's because I'm going to do it. Expect big things, baby steps again, because we're starting from the ground up, but as I said, I'll stick to my words, I'll provide for you guys, and just keep them peeled basically, and big up all love.
The support's been mad.